And as John mentioned, and as Adrian Tănase from the Bucharest Stock Exchange mentioned, what we also see from our members is the growing interest of non-financial reporting of the ESG in general, but also due to the fact that investors are also asking this more. And we have the pleasure to invite for the following minutes to discuss ESG now and what is next with Javier Manzanares Allen, President of IASE Global and Deputy Executive Director of Green Climate Fund, that is joining us through our dear partners Envisia, with whom we just started an educational program. So Javier, please, if you are around, I don't really see you here.
Yes,
but, okay.
Yes, I am, Daniela. I can see you and hear you loud and clear.
Great. Some applauses for you as well. So if you would be in Romania, some applauses would follow. So
yeah, I can feel it. Anyway, thank you so much, and thank you for the invite. I'm truly excited to be here. Congratulations to you, to your team, and this I think wonderful event and wonderful gala. Also extend my appreciation to John Gollifer. I did enjoy your presentation, John, and I'm going to take it where you left it off, and in saying integrating ESG into the IAR story. Or pretty much that's what the IASE is about, the International Association for Sustainable Economy, headquartered in London. Is a global standard setting body for sustainability in environmental, social, and governance, and the first worldwide association to certify ESG professionals. IASE advocates and represents the sustainability profession by establishing the highest professional and ethical standards for ESG practitioners, as well as certification requirements worldwide for those aspiring to professional levels. IASE was established only a few months ago, talking about July 2020, and has gone rapidly ever since. As of today, we have presence in more than 34 countries represented at our board. In terms of governance, IASE has appointed one chairman, that would be myself, your humble servant, and two vice chairpersons, Carmen Micu from Romania and Godfrey T from South Africa. We also have reinforced our corporate structure with three committees thus far: Ethics, Institutional, and Academics Committee, and one advisory council to the chairman and to the board. IASE colleagues is going nowadays, and as we speak, through very exciting times. Our board of directors has recently approved the full syllabus for the first level exams towards the certification of International Sustainable Finance, what we call ISF certification, and International Sustainable Business, ISB certification of ESG professionals. This is to say that very soon, IASE will be taking up the very first exams for ESG practitioners all around the world. IASE, through an ITC, an invitation to comment, and engaging more than 44 organizations led by our academic committee and in consultation with the board stakeholders, is prompt to mainstream ESG into the corporate decision-making process. I would like to make a brief pause here to acknowledge the contribution of our academic committee, and more especially my gratitude, my personal gratitude to Gabriela Hartescu as the board representative before our academic committee. And as you can see, IASE Romania, represented by our backing partner, Envisia Board of Elites, is playing a leadership role at IASE, and I would like to personally congratulate Romania and Carmen Micu for that. So why corporations should work to promote ESG policies, to promote ESG IR, and even more so during these times of pandemic COVID-19? Well, because first, it provides for a corporate sustainable strategy that incorporate ESG criteria that allowing companies to comply with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and ethical values fully shared, as you know, by many organizations and companies around the world, because it increases return on investment. In the last 12 months, the ROI in companies with ESG components have outperformed companies that do not have a sustainable investment policy. This gap is expected to increase over time. And let me share with you that more than 2,000 academic studies have shown empirically in more than 70% of the cases that there is a high correlation between companies with ESG criteria and the best financial results obtained. Investors are shifting their portfolio towards more sustainable companies, and those without a clear ESG long-term policy are and will suffer a decrease in their price value and liquidity levels. Ladies and gentlemen, private and public institutional investors are not keen to selecting companies with a high carbon footprint, or even less so, in maintaining companies with stranded assets when readjusting their asset allocation. Many companies and institutional investors are aiming at selecting investments that contribute to the goal of cutting global emissions by half by year 2030 and reaching net zero carbon footprint by 2050. But also because it's a more efficient financing cost structure. Institutions that have incorporated ESG metrics in managing their processes and especially in the reduction of their carbon footprint can access to better and cheaper source of financing than those companies that stick to the brown or carbon intense policies. There's a reduction of operational and production costs. Having a long-term policy, a long-term business strategy that incorporates ESG criteria contributes to a potential reduction in operational and production costs, namely energy cost, water and waste treatment cost, pollution cost, etc. This results obviously in improvements in their operational margins. Also, a governance system based on good professional practices and ethical principles in organizations that introduce ESG governance systems with decision processes that take into account all shareholders. A governance systems aiming at ensuring the interaction among all shareholders is carried out in an optimum manner and guaranteeing maximum professionalism and compliance with the ontological codes will make a difference. Colleagues, we're moving from an era of shareholderism to an era of stakeholderism. ESG also allows to a much more responsible organizational culture. Organizations that introduce awareness policy through training the importance of ESG soon find out that they have better corporate performance than those that do not. In fact, this constitutes a whole change of mentality that contributes decisively to the institution being fully aligned with environmental, social, and governance criteria. I think that's where it comes also the point of integrating ESG into the IR story. ESG improves work opportunities within the organization, and it allows for a better work-life balance among employees. An adequate internal equality, diversity policy allows the company to contribute, generating the same work opportunities for both men and women and more compatible schedules. All of this results in a better working environment for the entire organization and contributes to a higher level of motivation of staff, attracting more talent and improving the decision-making process. But it also prepares the organization to be able to comply with regulatory requirements. We are seeing on a worldwide basis how regulatory pressure is increasing. And in the case of ESG requirements, there are several international initiatives that incorporate sustainability, environmental, social, and government criteria, both in their corporate strategy and the daily operations. Again, those institutions that do not comply with the new regulations may be penalized with the consequent impact on reputational risk, among other things. Finally, it contributes to the organization's customer having a good perception of the company's corporate image. Currently, there is a fairly strong push from consumers demanding products and services from companies that comply with ESG criteria, and this trend will increase in the coming years. Therefore, only organizations that have such criteria incorporated into their DNAs will have the necessary competitive advantage. Why IASE? And why IASE Romania? And why Envicia boards of elite? Well, because the message must come from the top, at the CEO, at the board of director levels, because the best investment your company can make is to invest in your people by providing the right training, by providing the right tools and access to certification and ESG, because it is also in your best interest to engage with all stakeholders, because your decisions influence the future of society. And definitely because you will also increase the return on your investments. I would like you to join us at IASE in changing the narrative and message to corporate Romania. A message that goes from an outdated corporate concept based on shareholderism, whereas everything is about maximizing profits for your shareholders and investors in general, to a more compelling and modern narrative based on stakeholderism, where maximizing profits is enhanced with also maximizing benefits for your stakeholders. For that, our backing partner in Romania, Envicia Board of Elites, is in a privileged position to support boards, executive and non-executive board members, C-suite level professionals, and many other senior professionals to mainstream ESG pillars into their decision-making process. And let me finalize my intervention with a climate change spin, obviously, where that's what I come from. Having said this about ESG, now from the climate environmental perspective, the question is, and why our action is so urgent? Over the next 10 years, our decisions today, your decisions today, will impact the future of humanity or destabilize the planet. We have reached several climate tipping points, and let me share some of them with you. In the Arctic, the sea ice is only a few decades from an Arctic that presents no sea ice during the summer period. In Siberia, the permafrost is thawing at scales never recorded before. I'm finishing up. The Greenland is losing trillions of tons of ice. The great forest of the north is burning with plume of smoke the size of Europe. The Atlantic Ocean circulation is slowing. The Amazon rainforest is weakening and may start emitting carbon within the next 15 years. Half of the coral of the Greater Barrier Reef, that's the world's largest coral reef in the world, has already died. West America, Antarctica, I'm sorry, may have already crossed the tipping point, and East Antarctica parts are cracking and hence becoming unsustainable. Colleagues, this is 9 out of 15 big biophysical systems that regulate climate, and now they're on the move to rapidly approaching tipping points. The consequences are mind-boggling for climate change as we are moving unstoppably towards a 3-degree increase of temperatures. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you very much. Indeed, this is the key towards what companies report, the understanding of the importance of the climate change. Thank you very much, Javier, for attending the event today and for the partnership with the Romanian Invisia. We're very happy about that as well. Thank you.